It was supposed to be a quiet afternoon in our neighborhood, kids playing outside, families winding down. But everything changed in seconds. My daughter was riding her scooter just a few houses down when a black SUV with flashing lights came flying around the corner. At first, we thought it was the police. They had badges, radios, the whole getup. But what happened next made it clear. They weren't who they claimed to be. That SUV didn't stop. It didn't even slow down. It hit my daughter, crushing both her legs before speeding off like nothing happened. I was just steps away. I'm a Navy SEAL. I've faced combat zones, chaos and danger. But nothing prepares you for seeing your child hurt like that. And nothing could prepare us for the shock that came after. These weren't real cops. They were pretending to be part of the Homeowners Association security team. Except there was no HOA-approved patrol, no official anything. Just a group of men acting like they were in charge. As I carried my daughter in my arms, I made a promise. I was going to find out who they were and hold them accountable. What happened next changed everything, not just for us, but for the entire neighborhood. And the way it ended, no one saw that coming. The ambulance came fast, but those few minutes felt like forever. My daughter was in shock, barely conscious, and I couldn't stop replaying what I saw. Those men in fake uniforms, acting like they had authority, driving like they owned the road. At the hospital, the doctor said her legs were broken in multiple places. She'd need surgery, months of recovery, maybe more. That alone was hard enough. But the part that made it worse, no one could tell me who those guys were. I started asking questions around the neighborhood. That's when the strange details began to surface. A few neighbors had seen the SUV before, sometimes circling the block, sometimes parked near the entrance. One said they'd even been stopped by the same guys, claiming they were private security hired by the HOA. But here's the thing, we don't even have an active HOA, not officially, and there sure weren't any patrols approved by the community. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. I started digging, using every skill I'd picked up in the military, talking to witnesses, checking plates, reviewing home security footage. And the more I uncovered, the more disturbing it got. These weren't just 1A cops playing dress-up. There was something organized going on, something bigger. And they weren't happy I was asking questions. The deeper I looked, the stranger it got. One neighbor told me he'd seen the SUV parked late at night near the old park entrance, no lights on, engine running. Another mentioned a clipboard with names, even a fake ID badge that looked like a sheriff's star but had no county seal. People had been too nervous to say anything before. Some thought they were legit, others just didn't want trouble. But now that a child had been hurt, my daughter, people started opening up. Turns out, these guys had been making rounds for weeks. They called themselves neighborhood enforcement and even handed out fake citations for things like lawn violations and noise complaints. One woman said they demanded access to her backyard to check for security risks. Most folks just went along, not wanting to argue. But now it was clear they weren't protecting anyone. They were pretending to be authority, and no one really knew why. I reached out to local law enforcement. They were helpful but limited. Without a license plate match or confirmed identity, there wasn't much they could do yet. Still, they warned me. If these men weren't real security, they could be dangerous. That stuck with me. And just days later, I found out my name had been posted in an online neighborhood group I'd never joined. Under a post titled Problem Resident. That's when things started to escalate. After that post went up, things got weird fast. I started noticing the same black SUV parked a few houses down, just sitting there with the engine running. Sometimes a second vehicle would show up, no plates, tinted windows. I wasn't imagining it. They were watching us. My wife was scared to let our kids play outside. Even neighbors who'd supported me suddenly stopped talking. It was like someone flipped a switch, like I'd become the threat. I kept pressing forward. I tracked down a guy who used to work private security in the area. He told me off the record that a few former contractors had been setting up their own road patrol units, calling it community safety. No licenses, no training, just a bunch of guys with tactical gear, fake patches, and power trips. Some were ex-military, others just wanted to feel important. It wasn't legal, but they kept a low enough profile that no one cracked down, until now. After that post went up, things got weird fast. I started noticing the same black SUV parked a few houses down, just sitting there with the engine running. Sometimes a second vehicle would show up, no plates, tinted windows. I wasn't imagining it. They were watching us. My wife was scared to let our kids play outside. Even neighbors who'd supported me suddenly stopped talking. It was like someone flipped a switch, like I had become the threat. I kept pressing forward. I tracked down a guy who used to work private security in the area. He told me off the record that a few former contractors had been setting up their own road patrol units, calling it community safety. No licenses, no training, just a bunch of guys with tactical gear, fake patches, and power trips. Some were ex-military, others just wanted to feel important. It wasn't legal, but they kept a low enough profile that no one cracked down, until now. Then one night, my security cameras caught two figures sneaking around my backyard. They didn't take anything, just walked the perimeter, then left. The next morning, my truck's tires were slashed. No notes, no threats, just silence. But the message was clear: back off. That same day, I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a photo of my daughter's scooter, taken after the accident. Someone wanted me to know they were still close, and they weren't done. I stared at that photo for a long time. It wasn't just a reminder, it was a threat. But something about the angle of the shot felt off. It wasn't taken from the street. It was from inside a yard, maybe even a house. That meant whoever took it wasn't just watching. They had access to somewhere close. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just some group of random guys playing fake HOA cops. Someone in the neighborhood was helping them. I went back through all the security footage I'd saved since the accident, frame by frame. That's when I caught it. Barely visible, but there. One of the fake security guys stepping out of a garage 2 doors down from ours. The house belonged to a quiet older man, always kept to himself. No one really knew him, but it wasn't him in the video. It was someone younger, geared up, slipping out like he didn't want to be seen. And that house, it had a perfect view of our street. I showed the footage to a contact I knew from my time in the Navy, someone now working in private investigations. He took one look and said something I didn't expect. You're not just dealing with fake cops. You might be looking at a shadow op. These guys could be ex-contractors running their own playbook. And if that's true, it doesn't stop with your daughter. That's when I realized we were in deeper than I ever imagined. I decided it was time to act. No more watching and waiting. With the help of my contact, we set up motion-triggered cameras around the house and drone surveillance focused on the suspect property. Within days, we had what we needed: clear footage of 2 men entering and exiting that garage in tactical gear, loading equipment into the same black SUV that hit my daughter. One of them even wore the same patch I remembered from that day. I took everything straight to local law enforcement, and this time, they brought in federal support. Turns out, we weren't the only ones dealing with this. A few towns over, similar reports had come in. People impersonating HOA officers, setting up security zones, then intimidating residents. It was part of a larger scheme to pressure homeowners into paying fake violation fees or selling under market value. Organized, calculated, and hidden behind a fake layer of authority. The arrests happened early one morning, quiet, fast, and surgical. My family watched from inside as unmarked vehicles pulled up and agents moved in. The man from the garage? Not just a neighbor. He was a disgraced former contractor with ties to a shady private security firm shut down years ago. We thought it was over, until a week later, a package showed up at our door. No note, just a burner phone. When I turned it on, a message played. You were never the target. And just like that, everything we thought we understood changed again.